It's Greek week in my kitchen. Today we're making a couple of Greek condiments, hummus and tzatziki. I hope you'll stick with me. Hey there, welcome back to my kitchen. I've been preparing for a lot of this week for a dinner party that I'm having tonight. It's Saturday at about 10 minutes after 2, and I'm in the final stretch. I've got to make a couple of condiments, get myself ready, and then I'm gonna prep the main dish. So the first we're gonna make is hummus. And the hummus that I make involves really cooking the chickpeas down. I'll copy a couple recipes down below that this is inspired by. A teaspoon of baking soda combined with about 28 ounces of chickpeas that I've drained. And then I'm gonna cover these with water and get them on the stove. It's not really an exact science here. We're just trying to boil them down, get them super, super mushy so that the hummus can be as creamy as is possible. So hummus is one of those dishes that you can add a lot of different things to. I like to make a hummus that's extra garlicky and has a lot of lemon juice. You can do this without a food processor, but it's a little bit more complicated and a lot more work. I would recommend pulling out your food processor if you have one and letting it do the work for you. First things first, I'm gonna add about 4 giant cloves of garlic. I like a little bit extra garlic, maybe a ridiculous amount of extra garlic. If you're less of a garlic person, add less. If you like more than me, add more. Zest a couple of these lemons and juice all 4 of them into the food processor. Hummus is a super adaptable recipe. You can really add a lot of different herbs and spices to it. Pine nut hummus and roasted pepper hummus and jalapeno hummus, olive hummus. This one's gonna be relatively plain, pretty lemony. Start with 3, see where that gets us, and very, very creamy. Now I'm gonna add fine sea salt, and I'm just gonna add about a teaspoonful. A little bit of cumin as well, probably a teaspoon. Ground white pepper. If you don't have white pepper, don't worry about it. I would just wait until the end and see if it needs a little bit of spice. You can add some black pepper or you can omit it completely. Now we're gonna give these a blitz. I'm gonna let the garlic and the lemon juice mellow each other out for 10, 15, 20 minutes while our chickpeas continue to boil. They are at a boil. I'm gonna keep half an eye on them so that they don't boil over. It's been about 10 minutes. Our chickpeas are still bubbling nicely on the stove. Now I'm gonna add about a cup of tahini. Tahini is basically just sesame seeds made into a paste. It's pretty delicious if you've never tried it. This is a 10-ounce jar, so most of this jar is gonna go in. Tahini can be pretty easily found near the nut butters in really any grocery store. Start with that, see what that gets us. So I'm looking for a really smooth paste. It's not done yet, but I'm still gonna give it a bit of a taste to see if we need to add more salt. Nice and lemony. We definitely need some more salt. Looking good. I think I'm just gonna add the whole jar of tahini. Perfect. Nice and thick, but super even consistency. So the secret to creamy hummus that I have found is adding ice water. So I'm gonna add 4 tablespoons of ice water while this machine is on, and the intent is just to make it as creamy as is possible. I don't know what the science is behind it, but it works every time. It really does change the consistency. It makes it nice and fluffy. Yum. Now I'm gonna drizzle in about a tablespoon or 2 of olive oil. Okay, let me show you the consistency. It's really good. Zingy, salty, lemony, lots of garlic. You can taste the tahini. Can't wait to get the chickpeas in there. So you can see that the skins are coming off of them. They're very, very mushy, still very hot, but super, super mushy. That's what's gonna go right into our hummus. Now at this point, we're just looking for taste and texture. We've got most of the ingredients in. We could add in a little bit of lemon, we could add some more salt, we could add a little more olive oil, we'll see. But first we gotta blend. Just did a scrape down, I'm gonna do a texture and a taste test. That's getting good. I'm going for more lemon, going for a little bit more salt. And a final taste test. The taste is on point. I'm gonna add 1 more tablespoon of water to try to get a little bit creamier and maybe a tiny little drizzle of olive oil, and then we're gonna call it good. We made incredibly creamy hummus. It's in the serving dish. I'm just gonna do a couple little swirlies. Sprinkle a little bit of sumac around the outside. You could also use paprika. And then when we get closer to serving, I'm gonna put a little bit of olive oil on the inside. But for now, this is going in the fridge. Looks pretty good. Now on to the tzatziki. Tzatziki is a yogurt, herby, cucumbery, I would call it a condiment. If you're Greek and you know different, please correct me in the comments below. It goes very nicely on meat, on vegetables. You can dip chips into it. You really can use tzatziki with whatever you want, and you can kind of flavor it however you want. My tzatziki today is gonna have a whole boatload of dill, some mint, and there's actually a couple leaves of Greek oregano in here as well. My plant is pretty new, so I don't have a ton of that. Gonna use some lemon juice, cucumber of course, and then olive oil, salt. I'll probably put some white pepper in it, a little bit of vinegar, and then some really nice full fat yogurt. The first thing to do is to grate the cucumber, and I don't want really watery tzatziki sauce. So I'm gonna grate it onto a cheesecloth. Okay, that's good enough. Now take a little bit of salt. Salt helps to draw moisture out of things. And gather up your cheesecloth. You'll see already all of the liquid. And then just give it a strain. These cheesecloths are not super expensive. You can get them at any kitchen supply store. I think you can get them off of Amazon. And they're really quite handy. But not necessary if you don't have one. You can use a kitchen towel, a colander, and a spoon. You can even just use your hands, actually. That looks good to me. So we'll dump in our cucumber. Look at all of that juice. That's a ton. Glad that's not in our tzatziki. Next, I'm gonna grate in some garlic. So I'm gonna use my handy dandy microplane. And first, I'm going to just give these a little bit of a crush. Peel the papers. And then I'm just gonna take off that little nub at the end and get going grating. So I took those pieces of garlic down as far as I could without grating my fingers. So now I'm just gonna give them a chop and see if I can get them small enough that I'm happy. That's good enough for me. Now onto the herbs. A lot of dill. Some of those woody stems are okay on the dill. The big ones I'm gonna pull out. If you have ever thought about trying, even in the tiniest little space on a patio or even just in a windowsill, having a little container garden of herbs, I would highly recommend it. It's a really great way to add a lot of flavor to your cooking for much less expensive than buying herbs at the grocery store. I think you can buy an herb start for like $5 maybe. And each of the little tiny packets that are like an ounce or 2 ounces are about that same amount. Herbs go in. Squeeze this lemon in. I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of olive oil. Another little teaspoon of salt. We're putting like 2 full cups of yogurt in this. So this spicy mixture will be great for that. About a tablespoon of vinegar. And I'm gonna go for a little bit of ground white pepper. Measuring in my palm because I have a tendency to spill things. That was probably about a teaspoon. Now we're going to add a couple of cups of this yogurt, maybe about half of it. I taste the yogurt on its own. That's nice. It's quite tangy. Now we just mix everything in. So I just used the yogurt that I had in my fridge, this whole milk yogurt. I think you could use Greek yogurt and it would be a little bit less runny if you're concerned with consistency. This is kind of a nice dip or for layering over the lamb that we're having tonight or for putting onto pitas. So I'm okay with this consistency. Can I give it a taste? Very tangy. I need some more salt and a little bit of the richness of the olive oil, about another tablespoon. Really good. Perfect. If you don't like the way it tastes, keep going with it. Try some more olive oil, try some more salt and pepper. Just keep going until you have something that you really enjoy. Our tzatziki is ready. I'm gonna pop this in the fridge next to the hummus and I'm gonna go get myself ready. It's now about 3:05. My guests come in a couple of hours, so I've got to get back down here and start preparing the main course. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you make tzatziki or hummus and if you have a specific way that you like to make them. I always love to learn. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. Really appreciate you being here today. Hope to see you soon. Cheers.